In this week's episode, I'm going to show you some quick and super effective tips on how you can do basic triage analysis to determine if something is turning into a malicious incident or some type of malicious incident, specifically around phishing emails and malicious attachments and executables that you might find on your network. Coming up. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Now, it's not uncommon for end users to forward you phishing emails and say, I don't know if this is legit or not, and you've got to do the analysis. And sometimes it's quite obvious that it's a phish, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's an attachment, and you have to analyze it. Or a dropper drops a file on a system, and maybe you don't have advanced endpoint detection and response tools that can do the analysis for you, and you have to do some quick triage to understand if this is malicious or not, and if it is, what kind of malicious. Maybe you could pull out some indicators of compromise and begin quickly responding. Now, there's some tools and techniques that are super common within the industry, and if you just don't know about it, that's why I want to tell you about them, because everybody uses them, and you really should know about them. Now, really quick, I do want to take a minute here and thank you for returning if you're a regular subscriber to the channel. I've really enjoyed this journey with you. If you're new here, just allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jerry Ogier, and this is Simply Cyber, a YouTube channel designed for helping cybersecurity professionals take their career further, faster. If you like what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button, bells for notifications, drop a comment, maybe a like. You know the deal on YouTube. Anyways, I'm going to hop behind the computer and we're going to kind of walk through use cases of using these tools and how to properly use the tools and gather information out of it. And I guarantee you, when you're done watching this video, you're going to start using these tools if you're not already, as soon as you get to work. All right, let's go. So the very first tool that I want to share with you is awesome. And I feel like it's relatively new, but it's called any.run. And you can see it's a website, any.run. But it is a basically interactive malware detonation web-based solution. Effectively, it builds up a VM, and you can either access a URL, you can double-click on an executable, you can run macros, like whatever you want. You can basically destroy the VM that they build you and infect it 3 ways from Sunday, and there's no risk to you. You don't have to run malware on your own system or in your own little VM farm or whatever. Like it's awesome. So I want you to be aware of this. Now, I will tell you that it's completely free, which is awesome. But what that cost is that anything that you analyze in any.run becomes public space. So if you have a sensitive document, or you have, anything that's internal or sensitive or intellectual property or anything like that for your company, for a client, you cannot, or you can, but I would advise strongly against running it on the free version of this, because it's going to get out. So just be aware of that. But I want to show you how awesome this solution is. So let's hunt. You click right through it. I do have a free account I've already established. I've probably logged in, which doesn't matter really, because you're still going to see how it works. But they've got little change logs things. They have APIs if you want to hook into that. These are the most recent ones, as I just mentioned. This is like free, people who are using the free version. But you can see that they've got by kind of categories. So based on who's using it, what the kind of heat map is of things that any.run is seeing. So I do want to show you, basically how it looks, how it works. So you just hit new task. You pick the VM you want, Windows 7, 8, Windows 10, whatever, which, 32 or 62-bit. We'll use a Windows 7, but you can either, put in a URL of a site that might be suspicious or you're unsure of, right? So end user gets a phishing email. There's a link in it. Maybe they clicked on it. Whatever. However, suspicious URLs come in. Or you get a file, like there's a dropper you find, or a thumb drive or something, or someone sends an email with an attachment and people aren't sure if they should run it because they don't recognize the sender. whatever your situation is, this is where you drop it, right? So just for the sake of discussion, we're going to pick a URL. I'm going to go to URL House just to get one. This is a great little resource. Okay, so I want a executable. Here we go. These are all offline right now, see? So we can't, that's not really a good example. Okay. Online. Okay, here we go. So online, and it installs a remote access Trojan. So let's copy that. Go back to our any.run. So user got this in an email, or you saw it in your SIM, or whatever, right? So let's see what it does. Now you can sit back, it builds your VM. It looks completely legit to the malware. And wait until you see how powerful this is. This is so cool and such an unbelievably free resource. So here we go. So here's our VM, right? Let me make my little screen smaller. You could see it shows you the process tree of it executing, and as it spawns new processes, you can also see, this is great, like network connections it makes or DNS requests it makes. Look at this. So this malware launched a Windows service. You know, it's got some awareness that NJ-RAT was detected. Like it gives you this great data and information. It shows you the connections that went to this IP address. So now you could throw this IP into your SIM, or I guess if your firewall was pushing logs to your SIM, you could look there too. But the point is, you could see if other people in your organization had accessed this IP and pulled stuff down. If you had like a infection or an incident going on, just to kind of manage the exposure of the instance. Now, so it takes 1 minute. We've run it. We've confirmed that it's malware. We know exactly what to look for. We've got the indicators of compromise here, including like, hashes that we can look for. We got the MD5, obviously, IP connection, as I mentioned. You can easily put it to your clipboard. Now check this out. This is awesome. So let's just say that you had this malware on your network. End user got compromised, whatever, and you've got to report it. Any.run runs this awesome report that shows you all the key information that you would want, a little bit of a detail on what NJ-RAT is, when you ran it, like the behavior of the malware itself and what happened, like file details. It's just, there's probably screenshots. Yeah, there we go. Look at it. It's got the process of what happened. So tj.exe, it then ran Windows services.exe. I mean, it's just, this is so great. Look at the registry keys that were involved. Oh, so good. So this is just a great resource. I mean, that was probably like 2 or 3 minutes, and I've got a full report and analysis on what this malware did. You can't beat that for free. Okay, so that's the first one, and probably easily the best one. But you can't always, you don't always have the time to do this, or you're just looking for a quick little lookup. The next one I want to share with you is VirusTotal. Now, VirusTotal is a classic, seminal tool of any really SecOps analyst, but cybersecurity professional in general. Very, very unassuming website. You can either drag and drop a file right up in here, or choose it, whatever, and then, or you can put a URL. So again, it's just like any.run, right? Where you have a random file that you want to analyze. You have a URL that you're not sure about. Again, I want to point out that this will become public record, so you can't really put sensitive information up there. But again, let's just use that URL house tj.exe one we used, and we'll throw it into VirusTotal and see. So this takes all of a second, and it gives you like a sense of, is this malicious or is this not malicious, right? Quickly, because in reality, you're triaging and you're just trying to, understand what the situation is and what's the level of severity that you need to think about. So VirusTotal quickly, not all engines detected it as malicious, but some did, and that would be an indicator that there's an issue. Gives you a little bit of an issue that it downloaded a Windows executable PE file format. Gives you the URL. Well, I guess that IP address actually was in the the submission itself, but you get the point. VirusTotal is super fast, super easy. It's pretty much like a go-to first stop if you're just trying to like weigh how much this thing is. Like, is this a big deal or is this a small deal? I also want to point out they've done a lot of great stuff. I haven't played too much with whatever intelligence and hunting is, but VirusTotal has an API that you can hook into. So if you want to build some tools yourself, Python tools, if you're into Python, and the API key is free. You can't hammer the system, and I think that they do that to manage not being DOS, but really so you can't abuse it from like a commercial perspective. But anyways, great tool. Look into it. I feel like you could start off with just, the beginning of the files and the URLs. And then if you really wanted to like get fancy and, spruce it up or whatever, you could use the APIs and stuff. Okay, so the next tool I want to show you, like those two tools are excellent and great, but it kind of makes like whatever you're analyzing public knowledge. So sometimes you need to do kind of in-house static analysis. So one really great tool if you're dealing with a Office attachment, Microsoft Office attachment, usually Excel or Word, where they're going to embed macros to do malicious stuff. Oledump is just an excellent tool for doing that. It's Didier Stevens, and I'll include the link in the show notes below. But Oledump is super effective and super awesome. So I went to my buddy Josh Stroshine's GitHub page where he actually hosts a ton of malware. It's all hashed, and it's not really protected with a password or anything like that. But just if you do go here, be cautious. Obviously, whenever, as a disclaimer, whenever you're messing with malware, if you aren't careful, you can totally compromise yourself, which was really bad. Or you can blow up your VM, which is cool because that's kind of what it's designed for. But just if you're doing dynamic analysis on malware, please be careful, obviously. So we're going to look at this Agent Tesla Excel document that Josh has captured and done some analysis on. He's provided some information here. You can see these are actually screenshots from, I'm pretty sure, any.run, as we already saw. So it looks like Josh uses that too, which is cool. Anyways, so I've got my little Kali box with Oledump on it. This is the Kali box that we built in a previous episode up in AWS. I've been loving using this Kali box. It's kind of funny because it's an attack platform, and I use it for forensics and defensive measures and stuff like that. But anyways, let's use Oledump here so you can see how it works. Okay, so we're running Oledump on the Agent Tesla. What's the file name? 02F. Okay. So it's really not uncommon. Actually, that doesn't correspond with what I was thinking. So yeah. It's really not uncommon to use the hash for the file name of malware, although I find it confusing because the hash of this and the hash of this are the same, so I'm not sure what Josh was using for the hash, either this executable or this Excel file. Probably the executable because he uses .bin, but anyways, it doesn't matter. So we're going to run Oledump, and what Oledump does is it looks at the structure of the Excel file in this case, and it pulls out all the different elements of it. Now you can see these capital M's indicate macro. So these are two macros. Now, not to say macros are not okay to have, but if you already thought it might be malware. So you can use the -S, which is stream, and then these are the stream indexes. So stream 4 and -V, which decompresses it. Makes it something useful to read. Okay, so stream 4. There's this workbook open, which is basically a function call. So like when they open the Excel document, run this function, which is this obfuscated garbage right here, which likely probably points to the other macro, knowing that this is malware. So let's look at stream 5. See what's in there. Okay. So, I mean, right off the top, we're not going to analyze this as part of this video, but I mean, obfuscation is classic malware author behavior. So they don't want you to really know what they're doing. From a SOC Analyst triage perspective, like, I don't know what this has done, but I know it's malware. So if the end user hadn't clicked on it or anything like that, and we were just analyzing it, definitely malware, definitely. Now you can go ahead, if they did run it or whatever, you could do analysis on this in order to better understand what exactly happened. What I would do, since this is malware at this point, I mean, I would just probably feed this up into any.run. It makes the malware analysis window of time so short than having to screw around with like deobfuscating this and, you know, futzing around. Like, it's definitely cool. It's definitely malware and it's a good tool, but now at this point we know that this isn't sensitive information. We know that this isn't intellectual property. We know that this is malware. So let's see what it does, right? So that's Oledump and a great tool. Now the final tool that I want to share with you, again, attachments are kind of not the most prevalent vehicle for delivering malware nowadays, but certainly still up there as a popular method. So it's either Office docs or it's PDFs. I wanted to share one other tool with you called PDF Parser. Let's see. Yep. So I downloaded a malicious PDF from, well, it's actually zip one here, but from Malware Bazaar. So again, if you are looking to, the tricky thing with doing malware analysis and practicing and stuff is that there's no like ICR vulnerability malware, like, you know, defanged malware. Like, in order to really work with malware, you have to work with malware. Which means you expose yourself to some risk, right? But if you take the precautions and you're careful about, you're not just reckless, you should be fine, right? So Malware Bazaar is an awesome resource for going and getting malware. So if you actually wanted to study a particular type of malware or whatever, that's what you can do. I've gone ahead and already filtered on Agent Tesla because I knew we were going to be looking at it. And I pulled down one that I think I looked for PDF, right? Yeah. So PDF, you know, I think this is the one I picked, FD73, right? FD73, yeah. So this is the one I picked, but you get the point. The point is I downloaded malicious PDF. So the tool that I wanted to show you is PDF Parser. And this is, I also think, a Didier Stevens tool, which is pretty cool. But you basically just run it in, and it runs across the different kind of objects or streams within the PDF. And there's some interesting, you know, I'll link to this Lenny Zeltzer site where, you know, analyze a malicious documents cheat sheet, and there's a whole, you know, PDF version of this document, so you can print it out or save it. But, like, you know, it's kind of cool, right? Risky PDF formats, open action, AA, whatever. So, like, these are the tools. I bet you PDF Parser's in here somewhere. Yeah, there it is right there. So anyways, you get the point. So you can look for these things, and knowing that this is malware, I'm just going to go ahead and find where it is. But by running PDF Parser, you can quickly look inside from a static perspective and really limit the amount of risk that you're taking on. Okay, so here's an indicator right here, right? So there's a uniform resource indicator, identifier. Anyways, where it's a tumblr.com, you know, resource basically that redirects to some prankworkpk.com and passes it, you know, whatever, an argument across the URL request, including this, which is probably, you know, designating some malware or something like that. All right, hopefully, you know, maybe some of those tools you already knew, some of those tools you didn't know and now you do, some of them you did and you didn't know the functionality fully. So I hope you got some value out of this. Let me know in the comments below if there's go-to tools that you're using all the time for doing similar type of triage analysis and indicator of a compromise identification. Put it in the comments, because maybe there's tools that I don't know about that you do that I would like to add to my arsenal. I mean, in addition to doing YouTube videos, I am a fully corporate cybersecurity professional who's doing this daily. So, if there's tools out there, I want to know about them just as much as you do. So until next week, thank you and stay secure.